Alrighty, welcome back to the Proving Grounds powered by Verizon. We are here on the desk getting ready for our second series, and what a better way than having a good old quack back between Winston and Dokla.
Yeah, where's the duck shirt today? I feel like this
That's
was
what
the
I'm
day
wondering.
to wear the duck shirt on
Hey, give me a sec.
broadcast. Oh, give me a sec. What?
Oh,
Yeah, here it is.
this is a family
We
show.
lost our host.
What have you done? What
All
have
right,
you done,
Avril, you are
Cubby?
now in charge.
Don't
Okay,
make
there
me
it
take
is.
back hosting, Magical.
I
It's
got the
April
duck shirt.
1st. All right.
Got the duck shirt.
All
You,
right.
you asked me where it is. It's right here.
All
Got
right,
the duck
well,
shirt.
I'm glad we saw it in the quack back, and fun to hear Doka Winston get after it. Of course, they had a lot of years together. TSM, some other teams that they were on the amateur circuit, and I like the banner coming to this series. We got a couple old teammates, a couple good friends towing off.
Dokla always with the banter. Always.
Yeah, it's always fun to watch them, but we gotta hurry up. We gotta get ready for this game because I'm betting that they're both biting at the chops to play this game. CLG Academy, Immortals AOE. Immortals AOE, the second team to take down an Academy team, but like it was said by Dokla, it was TSM Academy, the 10th place Academy team, that they now have to face off against the first seed of Academy. So we look at both of the rosters. I gotta ask, what are the standouts for you, Avril?
I have to say, Sochi on the mid lane.
Sochi.
Yes, yeah. I like how you guys are surprised by that, and I know, like, this guy is so underrated. I don't care.
All right.
I'm a Sochi
Well,
fan.
you know what? I'm here for it. I'm always here for that. But you know what? Because you are a marksman pro looking to go professional up and challenger, I wanted to focus on the marksman in this series because we have two exciting ones. We got both Prismal and Meech. Let's start off with talking about Meech because, I mean, I've kind of stolen this away from you, Mazel, where you had the Doxa magic that you tried to fool everyone with. It's the Meech magic.
I don't know what
I'm
you're talking about. The Doxa magic is absolutely true. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm going to
Oh.
give this to you again, Avril. I want you to kind of dissect what we've seen from Meech so far in Proving Ground.
This clip's so filthy.
Let me see this clip.
You're gonna be impressed, Avril. It's poke Zaya at its best. I'm sorry, there's no crit, but you know.
Yeah, so it's, I mean,
Oh my
honestly, it's just a
goodness.
good play. But yeah, Meech is just popping off at this point. He's just positioning perfectly.
Yeah, no, he's spaced back at the dead tier 2 really well there.
And here's another one. So, Cubby, walk us through this one
Oh.
and tell us your thoughts, and we'll get Avril's afterwards.
I feel like we're just getting Avril shining on the mic. As
I know, right?
I mean, I think the big part is, Dokla joking with Winston said, once you guys beat TSMA, I knew we had a free trip to the next round. But the reason that they beat TSMA, it was because of Meech.
Exactly.
Their backs against the wall. Do or die game. Drops 15 kills on a poke Zaya and then has that late game team fight on the Jinx as well. Meech was fantastic in this series. He is the carry of this team. They consistently path bot, and he's the one that we're keeping our eyes on in this game.
He is, and he's going up against a really tall character in our entire spring split in Prismal for CLG Academy. This guy has been absolutely absurd with how he's been performing with Breezy, and I feel like that's another one of the reasons why we have them as our #1 seed. So, let's give this one over to you, Mazel. Why don't you break this down a little bit, and we'll get the reactions from Avril all along the way.
It's been incredible to see, Prismo and Breezy kind of unlocked in their own right. CLG Academy, they were the first team in the regular season of Academy itself, right? And to drop early on and Proving Grounds to the lower bracket was not where they wanted to be. But you're seeing in some of these clips, right?
Oh, this clip.
That craziness, that absolute mechanical
This is nasty.
that can come out from this squad, and especially Prismo himself in that bottom side for the combo of CLG Academy. It's so good.
Oh.
The killer instincts intended because it's the
gets better.
Kaisa is there.
Okay.
Just
okay.
like hearing Avril's reactions to these, it's the best part.
It's the Prismo
Okay,
show.
time out against
Pixel
the
perfect here. Pixel perfect. Pixel perfect.
Worthy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's good stuff. And Avril, I know that, getting into these fun facts, you were excited about the cup stack.
Yes. Oh my god. I totally forgot about this. I literally this peaked in memory in my brain that I literally used to be I was an aspiring pro cup stacker when I was freaking 10.
I love
Hey.
it. I
do too.
personally
Avril
love
was
the leaf
murdering
blower.
it.
The leaf
It was
blower
elementary
style.
school gym class. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Elementary school gym class?
Elementary school
crazy.
gym class is where Avril really shined with cup
Yeah.
stacking, you know?
I thought the leaf
Yeah.
blower simulator would be where the gym class comes into this equation. But,
Wait, are you playing Leaf Blower Simulator in your gym class?
well, you know, you
Hold
gotta
up.
lift the leaf blower after in real life. You gotta get practice.
He doesn't even
in the
play Leaf Blower
simulation.
Simulator anymore. He plays some vampire game now. for
Yeah,
his
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in-between
We'll talk about that another time, Azelle, because we got the games to look forward to. We're getting into Champion Select for the third time. Azelle, take us away.
All right, we'll do just that as we get into our second series of the day, Cubby. It's still elimination time. It is a best of 3 in front of us. CLG Academy taking on Immortals AOE. We already set the stakes in the bottom lane. How much focus will be on Meech and Prismal, respectively? But it all starts in the draft. Immortals AOE on the blue side do ban away the Lucian and the Jace. CLG Academy on that red side take away the Xayah and the Ahri.
And a lot of focus and respect being paid already to Dokla, as those are a couple of counters that maybe Anime Girl just doesn't want to deal with. I know that thinking about Anime's girls pool, it's been a lot of Camille, a lot of Gwen. That's been really the specialty for Anime Girl in throughout the amateur to PG run. I know that on blue side, eventually they're going to have to probably blind a top laner, especially given the way that CLG plays. But I'm curious with those 2 early bans being thrown out, if they're looking to blind one earlier in the draft. Until then, Zeri or Aphelios for Meech going to be the choice, and it's looking to be that Aphelios early as Dokla. I'll bring some of Winston's favorite champs here after the quack back.
I was going to say, you got to get some of those in there, man.
I like that.
But all in its own right? Seeing these 2 guys go up against each other, I think is so interesting. You get to see some of that chemistry between them 2, but it's all about what comes down to execution. And Dokla himself being no slouch of execution, really. You could say his name was made before this split, but this split in particular, Dokla has been monstrous in the top lane for CLG Academy. Maybe not so much in these last couple weeks, but we are knowing that the resurgence is there. The potential is there for this squad. As CLG Academy lock in the double combo of the Zeri and the Hecarim, see what the response is from Immortals AOE, as they already have the Aphelios for themselves.
So if I'm Immortals AOE, I'm actually scared of Yumi potentially on 3.
True.
And I would not be surprised if they pick up a Nautilus here. Just given that you get the free lockdown onto the Zeri. And then if it is a Yumi, you can threaten that lane very early. And then also, I think the big winning formula for this team, it's been getting Winston on gankers and pathing bot. And for me, I see the Hecarim. I would not be surprised if we see Winston go for something like a Voldibear or a Jarvan here. Just make sure that you have that early pressure. You have that gank priority. You can get bot. Make sure that Meech gets ahead.
Yeah, and we're probably going to talk about this a lot throughout this whole series, but it's about how we get these 80 carries ahead themselves. We do see the Voldibear locked in for Winston, that skirmish heavy jungler.
Ooh,
Feel like can provide a lot of presence. We do get the Renata coming in for Breezy, and that's a little bit of spice that you like.
Yeah, we have yet to see this out of Breezy, but I think that Renata has really started to find her place in the meta, being that anti-full dive, full engage, support. Just having that zone control with the ultimate, the Berserk, really deadly if it ends up connecting with your team, especially into Aphelios. Fun interaction if he does drop one of the sentry turrets from the white gun that will turn and shoot your own team, so we'll have to be careful about that. Until then, looking like a lot of these top lane bans will continue. And I know that from speaking with the top laner of Immortals AOE before this, Anime Girl, I asked, you're going up against the top seed in the tournament, right? What are your expectations coming into this? And, Alex was honest about it. He was like, CLG is the toughest opponent that we faced yet. It's not going to be easy. And, everyone has to play their best, and I have to be as strong as I can topside, because Dokla has been the strongest top laner, arguably the strongest individual player that we have had in Academy, and he is sitting #1 in Champs Queue right now. So, all this respect being paid over to Dokla. Anime Girl taking a lot of champs off the board. Dokla will still get counter pick. We know how deep his pool is, but I'm curious to see what Anime Girl ends up pulling out. Yeah,
it's going to be very, very crucial for the top side not to be all that volatile, or at least you have some kind of response in its own right from Immortals AOE. We do get the LeBlanc for triple, though, but it's of a terrifying combo with the amount of pick out that they can get.
Yeah, they banned out the 2 counters we most commonly see for Gragas, even like in LCK, where they play a ton of Gragas. So I think for Dokla, it's just going to be an Aatrox pick now. I think Aatrox is really, really good into what Immortals AOE are showing, and it can win that match for the Gragas. We'll just have to see what the counter is into this LeBlanc, as Rise is on the table if Sochi wants it. It could be an option. Sochi would be his second most played for the split, and it's something that would kind of match what Immortals AOE are looking to do with his Volibear, is getting pressure, trying to snowball that into Meech in the bot side. Or a little bit different flavor here, Mazel. We get the Malzahar coming out of the Rift.
I actually like this. The lockdown for the mobile composition.
Some dark tech
that CLG Academy are bringing out. I think this is an absolute boon for IMT AOE because the way that they can approach the team fights in particular. But I will say there's a lot of onus on that, and kind of like we saw in the dueling fates of our first series, I think the way that these drafts have panned out, it's going to be very interesting as we do get that Aatrox you were mentioning.
So, I mean, the concern that I have if I'm Immortals AOE is CLG, the things we really know this team for is their ability to play out 3 lanes.
Yep.
I think that out of all the teams we have in Academy, they play 3 lanes the best. The other one, it also involves 3, but 3-wave plans. They're early game plans. And this is something where I want to see if they do end up having an early game plan, because I know how strong Volibear is in the first clear, how threatening he is for an enemy team, but LeBlanc does murder Malzahar in the first 3 levels. It's really tough for Malzahar to hang out in that lane. He needs levels to get points in his E, so he has a wave clear. He can push that LeBlanc in, keep her under turret, and then have impact on the map himself. So I'm wondering if CLG has a game plan to try and utilize the early power of LeBlanc to make plays. I think it's one way they could get up in the face of Volibear, or could slow down the game plan that we usually see out of Immortals AOE, which is attack bottom lane, get Meech ahead, get him set up for success, because we have seen in this tournament how hard Meech can carry games.
But that's where I want to dive into the style that they draft for themselves, because it is hard to, to pick apart exactly the clearest win condition for them, besides saying, get Meech ahead in the bottom lane. I don't feel like the solo lanes are going to be all that easy to play around for Winston himself, and it's going to rely a lot on his early pathing and the way that he wants to approach Rosethorn on the Hecarim that we know can get the ball rolling so quickly, especially around the clear speed and things along those lines for the Hecarim. And the first gank is really where I'm looking at for both these teams. Depending on when that comes, right, I would expect the level 6s to really shine a light on that for IMT AOE, but it is still about Winston feeling confident and feeling comfortable, because I've seen so many times we get Volibears that get behind and don't feel confident, don't feel comfortable, and don't end up doing anything in the series. And as we get onto the Rift for game number 1 between these 2 teams, only one of these squads can come away with a victory of this best of 3 and move on in the Proving Grounds. Will it be Immortals AOE, the final remaining amateur team in the Proving Grounds, or will the number 1 seed coming into it all, CLG Academy, take it home in a clean sweep?
And I know that, one of the big stories that we have in this game is just obviously CLG, being in the lower bracket. They fell to Immortals Academy in what was a very closely contested best. I think that's the best series we've had in Proving Grounds so far. If you did not catch that series, go check it out. It was 3 really good games. But I know from talking with CLG, their camp, Triple before that series said, we feel like the only way that we can lose is if we beat ourselves. Prismal, going into this game, said, you know what, we beat ourselves in that series. That's what he believed, and he believes that they have the edge. Keep in mind, Rosethorn, Prismal, these 2 players, they made the lower bracket run last year with Golden Guardians in summer. They ended up running the lower bracket to take a 3rd place finish in Proving Grounds. They have the experience. They know what it takes. And Prismal specifically cited, what you got to do in the lower bracket is you have to reset and respect every opponent you go up against. So we'll see if CLG can respect the power of Immortals AOE and their ability to attack bottom lane, something that is the reason that they are here, is the reason they beat TSM in that series.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is, like, the sky's the limit for this IMT AOE squad. I think as a whole, Amateur not having the grandest of times in this whole Proving Grounds, but the wins you take are the ones you run with. And I think IMT AOE have been a pretty good standard for amateur teams as a whole, as we see Trevor maybe not trying to stay standard down there. It takes a lot of damage with the burn coming down. He will have to pop those potions.
And importantly, for Immortals AOE, something we did set up early, they love to path bot. They love to make sure that Meech is set up for success. You have the Volibear, so insanely powerful at levels 3, 4, 5. He is working his way bot. Winston going for the full clear now on the Raptors. Rosethorn is matching. But Volibear is the one that has more power early, and Immortals AOE are the ones that are ahead early in this bottom lane.
They are keeping up that push. Mid lane will be in favor of Triple, but I want to go back to the conversation with bot lane and the way that we saw the stat for Meech. so many years with Trevor. That synergy there, the chemistry already built up in its own right. And Prismo and Breezy, a little bit of a newer combination, but having history of their own right, at least into this split, I think is so interesting that this is the kind of bot lane we get in the storylines that are their background.
And I think it's one, you know, for this team, a lot of what we set up 100 Thieves next for was the fact that, you know, these are, it feels like the first choice for a lot of the Academy teams that were passed up on. And I think Immortals AOE, in a sense, they somewhat feel the same way. Just given some of the pedigree in these players, the fact that Winston, someone that has played in Academy before. So we do see Winston making his first move on the map. Looking to take away that crab, potentially, but the pressure from Triple, again in the mid lane, did cite that LeBlanc wins this matchup early. He's able to hover, deny the crab, so Rosethorn gets off the full clear, and is even going to get the double crab early, Mazel.
That's what I was going to say, is I'm surprised that Winston didn't take the aggressive point there on that blue and try to aggress that a little bit more, because
he didn't have smite.
Yeah, he didn't have smite, but as well as he could see Breezy moving up quickly there, and so it all ends up in CLG Academy kind of bearing the storm in that moment, bear intended. But Meech himself in some trouble with the handshake there. We'll be able to get some damage back, but the reset comes out more quickly for Prismo.
And overall, something that we haven't really, you know, hit on is, you know, what these teams want to do later. Did kind of tease how each of these teams want to play usually, what we've seen them, you know, use to find success in this tournament throughout this season. But I think the game plan for CLG, it is to scale. I know that it is a Malzahar you're staring down, but once you get those QSSs, I don't think there's really anything that Immortals AOE can do after the early game. Gragas can, you know, try and find combos onto Zeri, help out the Malzahar, but I think the game plan really is just scale, get to the later stage of the game as CLG, let the Zeri and the Hecarim take over as Triple.
He had no idea this was coming. Nice flash stun from Winston. He will die eventually. The bailout coming through. The bailout first blood for CLG Academy. And Breezy comes in clutch. Triple will get killed by the Sky Splitter as well as the Eviscerate for Winston. But what a turnaround for first blood.
Okay, the wave's still doomed, but the fact that Triple was at least able to trade out, it's really good for the LeBlanc. Sochi was not able to pick up the kill, and yes, Malzahar will be able to clean up this wave, but it's still Triple. Has that lost chapter now in the inventory and is going to have pressure in this mid lane. Really good match on the roam from Breezy, just understanding those base timers, something we have credited Breezy so much with throughout this split. A lot of it's been his ability to help impact the top lane, get Zoko these leads, but seeing him hover mid at the right point and help Triple out, big plays coming out of the sport of CLG.
Absolutely. Big plays across the board. I mean, we're getting decent CS differentials in this mid lane as well as the top lane. Zoko having a bit of pressure up there, and you could see he was potentially try to set up a proxy wave there for himself, which I found really interesting, but decided not to do it. But it's still these kind of incremental advantages for CLG Academy that will help them out further on. Rosethorn starting up this dragon already to get the stacking going.
And that's just having mid-prio and a pushing bot lane. So textbook again from CLG as this early game, those first two clears from the Volibear, they are so scary for teams to play against, but it feels like CLG as a team, they've navigated it pretty well. The first move from Winston was denied with that bot crab. The second one traded out evenly mid lane, helping match the roam from both Trevor and Winston mid. And CLG, I think they feel pretty good at the moment. You know, you have these scaling lanes that they picked in both sides, and they're in okay shape right now, Mazel. So if I'm CLG, I'm feeling pretty good about where the game's at.
Yeah, feeling pretty good. And because, you know, the sword forward is Rosethorn for CLG Academy on the Hecarim. He's going to be a lot of the engage for the team, a lot of the forward momentum for himself. And this guy, you know, not having been around for all that long here. It's starting on TFT, Team Fish Taco, if anybody doesn't know that, back in the day, and making his way here onto an Academy team. I think this has been an incredible year for Rosethorn himself as a whole, and now going against Winston, one of the, I feel like, you know, tried and true members of the amateur developmental system for junglers in NA. It's a good test.
Rosethorn is someone that has been up to the challenge, it feels like, for this entire split, as you know, CLG really feels like a team defined by their dominant early games. Keep in mind, in Academy, over a 2,000 average goal differential at 15, with Dokwa having 900 of that as an individual. That would have been second out of all teams in Academy. That is what defines CLG's split in the regular season, and it's something that we'll have to see if they can live up to the task here, as a lot of that came from, once again, playing through sides very well.
Oh my god.
As a squad. As CLG, at the moment, they have 2 scaling sides, and they have already helped Triple get ahead in this mid lane. We can see now Sochi, he's getting some help from Winston just to try and get this wave in, but he's very low on mana. We'll be able to sneak on out, but that still is an advantage for CLG. I mean, they spot all the members of Immortals AOE. They force them to, help out a teammate with a wave, and that going to give some breathing room to the rest of the members of on the map for CLG. And you can see Rosethorn already putting it to good use. He started up that Rift Herald.
Yeah, it's about objective control and objective dominance here so far for CLG Academy. They will be taking that onus to get the Rift Herald. I would wonder where they want to utilize that. I would expect probably one of these solo lanes in particular, just because of the steady lead that will come from Prismo and Breezy in the bottom side and the late game scaling factor. Triple and Dokla are the ones you really want to have an edge forward. Give out the Rift Herald down. Might be a little bit of a flipperino here for Winston. Does not do so. Rosethorn picks it up quickly, and that'll be another objective for CLG Academy.
Sound early game for CLG. We'll see what they end up doing with the Rift Herald. We did mention that they do have 2 side laners that they want to get ahead, help scale into the rest of this game. Mazel, the Rift Herald could be a good target. We'll see if Rosethorn decides to put together a set play with the rest of CLG, but until then, I think the big thing for Immortals AOE, Mazel, is just the fact that when you take a pick like Malzahar, you are taking it to neutralize that LeBlanc. CLG were able to break that early.
Yeah.
The fact that Breezy had a really nice hover, got Triple ahead with that first blood, and now we're seeing this Malzahar. Like, the goal of this pick is to keep that LeBlanc under turret. Sochi has been the one that's been staying under his turret, thanks to the lead that Triple's had and the way that he's been able to play with it. And that ends up making things tough for Immortals AOE, because a lot of the plays you want to go for, it's rotating this Malzahar to the sides to try and utilize the strength that you have to attack the side lanes. And this is really the first time in the game we're seeing Sochi actually be able to get out of the mid lane and even threaten a roam onto CLG.
Feels good to actually see that, though, and they do get the Scuttle Crab over Rosethorn down there on the bottom side, as that reset did come through. You want to check back into this top side. You were talking about Dokla picking up the Aatrox earlier on in the draft, and like how this could work out. Could be a good pick for him. He has had a very strong series so far, at least, albeit so early, but has a very strong CS differential, but as well as making it to where it's easier for CLG Academy to pick apart the rest of the map. But here comes Immortals AOE's first response to dive on bot lane, but you never want to dive a hostile takeover as it comes through, and it's some trouble. Stormbringer comes away from Winston, though. The bailout's not enough to save Prismal, and they do get a couple kills off the back of it. Rosethorn picks off Winston in the end, though, and it ends up at a 2 for 2.
And a good response from CLG is we talked about the play from Immortals AOE, right? You want to utilize the push the Mels, try and go make a proactive play. This is what Immortals AOE want to do with this team composition. They execute it well, but CLG, they're the ones that are there to answer, and even down numbers, Mazel, they trade out evenly.
That hostile takeover, I've seen it so many times in just in the LPL itself, right? It's a different level of play, but that is the core concept of this champion. They try to dive you, you're going to turn it right back on its head, and yes, they do lose their lives, but to come away with a trade when this is all Immortals AOE need to do is find plays like this, it's a huge turnaround.
Yeah, I love, too, the fact that you bring that up. It canceled the ult on the Malzahar, and I mean, honestly, it's fortunate that it was only a 2 for 2 for Immortals AOE, because Prismal was only 1 or 2 auto attacks away from getting that res, right? That takedown to stay alive in this fight, Mazel. It was that close.
It was. We do see the first objective going over to Immortals AOE as they take the Infernal Dragon, second dragon of the game. But it does mean we have an Ocean Soul on the Rift, and very hotly contested is that one, because we need that for both of these teams, honestly. We will see another tower, or first tower rather, go down to the side of CLG Academy in the top side, while bottom lane being worked on by Immortals AOE.
I think that CLG are going to take a full tower on the Dokla, and, A-OK, that's fine. But props to Immortals AOE. They're actually trading out well here. Meech has gotten 4 plates now. With that proactive play, I love the fact that Immortals AOE returned to the bot lane, trying to punish again. Even if they don't find kills, they at least forced Prismal off the turret. And this is how Immortals AOE made it to this round of the tournament himself. It was playing around Meech. And so I like the fact that they are sticking to their guns, sticking to that identity, and at least trying to play CLG as well as they can early. Keep in mind, CLG, their average gold lead at 15 in Academy, it was a little bit over 2K. The fact the amateur squad is about on pace with that early and has the resources allocated to the right people when we talk about Meech, that's not a bad start for Immortals AOE.
It is not. And I think something else that's super indicative of how the player is feeling, as we'll get the visions here, but unfortunately for Shochi, he will burn his flash and still die. Winston connects on the Rose Thorn here, but won't be able to say too much as they will walk away. Actually, Triple could look for the return here. But something, as we see Meech coming back to lane here, he has completed the Gale Force. And something that I always find, especially, I guess my track record is the LPL, Gale Force completion on Aphelios means one of two things. Either you feel confident in the lane or you feel aggressive. And I want to see that aggressive momentum. When you have the setup with the guns, the Gale Force Ward, the proper setup into the Zeri, who has not hit her item spike yet, obviously the Trinity Force, but you need more on the Zeri. I need to see Meech turn it up.
We'll see if Meech can. He has been, once again, just the outstanding carry. Keep in mind, a 15-kill Xayah game against TSM Amateur. That late-game Jinx team fight that helped them win that game 3. Meech is the reason that Immortals AOE are here
Rose
more
Thorn
than
gets
anyone
the blue.
else. Oh, boy.
They're going in on Winston now as well. Cass comes out, though, to separate the fight. Anime Girl saving the life of his teammates, potentially.
But you can still see CLG. We're at the 14-minute mark, Mazel. And this just feels like a textbook game for CLG. And I know it's something that, Prismal talked about, the fact that when you are in the lower bracket, someone has experience making this sort of run in PG, you have to reset. You have to treat every opponent like they are new because you only have one life left. And it really feels like CLG in this game have paid the respect to Immortals AOE. They realize the game plan, their ability to attack bot. And to be fair to Immortals AOE, they have been able to do a little bit of that in this game, but it feels like CLG, Doko is the one that's fed. How many games have we seen of CLG throughout this split where Doko gets fed and is able to just take over a game?
Yeah, and there doesn't seem to be much response. Obviously, Immortals AOE putting a lot of resources on the opposite side of the map here. It's been absolutely apparent, and they just kind of want to leave Dokla to his own up there. He does have TP, though, and that will not be true for long, right? You cannot just let Dokla continue to get a lead here over Anime Girl and continue to press these side lanes, because anytime you need to go to objectives, anytime these things become a lot more apparent that they need to be fought over, it gets that much more difficult to make that decision. And so I am looking for Immortals AOE to find a response to that instead of just trading constantly, because at some point the trades are going to not end up in their favor.
And we are a minute 15 away from the third dragon of the game. Of course, we are sitting at an Ocean Soul this game, Mazel. I want to see Immortals AOE. I think it's a tough team fight for them to go for, honestly. And I think their best angle to go for a team fight is really just play around this cask from Anime Girl. Definitely someone that, as an amateur player, Anime Girl, very first split playing competitively, really made a name for himself actually in the tryouts throughout this last year, right? Really just emerged onto the scene as someone that we believe is a talented top laner. I think that if he's able to split up the members of CLG, that's their best chance to win fights. And talking all this about Anime Girl,
he doesn't have a way out of this
right now.
He's in some serious trouble.
Going down.
Double chain connect, devastating charge, onslaught of shadows, whatever words you want to use, Anime Girl is down.
That one's on me. That's my fault. Caster Kirsting, the
Thank you for
top
taking
laner
blame.
of Immortals
I
AOE.
expect a written twit longer explaining your actions to Anime Girl.
It's April Fool's Day, guys. I'm sorry. I guess that means no Caster Curse.
I was going to say, I don't know what that does for you, but Dokla might need to be pulling out some April Fool's jokes for himself. He needs to get out of this one. He's going for the alcove gameplay, but has the World Ender speed buff to get him out of there. And he's even going to turn back. Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to get Malefic Vision immediately after that. He realizes there was a flank coming, and he gets the outplay. Shochi dies. He's still in a 1v3, but he gets the trade back. And this entire time, Rift Herald has been spawned in mid lane. Top lane is being pushed by CLG Academy. And this is the kind of trade you cannot have happen for Immortals AOE.
Our top Academy team doing what they do best, playing 3 lanes. Dokla using his lead, drawing in members of Immortals AOE, buying time, and CLG profiting across the map. They will happily sack this dragon to take those 2 turrets as Dokla trades out even on the bot side, and CLG, they now take a 5k gold advantage in this game.
Shochi, that feels so bad in those situations. You know, you thought he was written off, the whole team coming down there. But I think it's a huge heads-up play from Dokla to realize that Trevor was coming around behind him. The rest of the team of IMT AOE were coming around, so he had to turn back on it. And I don't know if IMT AOE were expecting that. And I think that's another heads-up play showing the style that Dokla has been able to perform so well on this entire split.
And I think it just really speaks to Dokla. I mean, this player, yes, he is the same player that we saw in LCS, you know, playing for Optic a couple years back, but he is so different since then. And Dokla, always someone that's, you know, a man of few words. I remember talking to him early in the split, you know, what went into your offseason? And he said, I put the work in. I want to show that I am good. I am better. I have improved. And I'm just want to let my play speak for itself. And that's exactly what Dokla has done for this entire split, Mazel. He has delivered at every turn. And I think it speaks right now. He's #1 in Champs Queue. You talk about putting the work in. This guy's streaming until 1 a.m. every single day, getting as many games in as he can and dominating the Rift. And I know from talking with Prismal, you know, he said that, you know, we're putting the work in as a team, but Dokla's #1 on Champs Queue. We're staying in the office till 1 a.m. most days. Everyone else is slacking for real. And that hard work, it's paying off for CLG, Mazel, as I know they're in the lower bracket, but they were making good use of their do-or-die life as Triple.
Rosethorn second guessed himself there, but realizes how far behind Shochi is, and there goes the onslaught of shadows. There's no hope for Shochi. Here comes the Stormbringer back, though. Rosethorn still alive somehow, and Winston goes down. It's catastrophe for IMT AOE. Beautiful sidestep, but Meech shuts him down.
Yo, Meech dodging out into the autos with the heal, the Gale Force. That was nasty against Seri. Prismal pushing a little bit too far, but it's still CLG. They're the ones coming out on top, and it's the play from Rosethorn and Triple syncing up. Immortals AOE just keep on falling behind in this game, Mazel, and CLG gonna take a second look at this one. Really punishing this.
He second-guessed himself. He's like, I don't know if I should go for this one.
He's just waiting. Fine time. You know, he's charging up the clocks, but I love how, you know, they force the flash. Immediately the fear comes out. The chain lands on a different target. And then also, I think it's just cruel Breezy.
Yeah,
throwing out this ultimate,
so
you know, making teammates turn on each other a little bit. Saving Rosethorn in the end. CLG just looks like everything that they want to do in this game goes their way.
Prismal getting a little hypey there. He even puffs the clips like, I just got to throw everything at it.
That was nasty from Meech.
Yeah, it was really.
some nice side
steps,
man.
That's the beauty of the Gale Force on the Aphelios. I feel like it ties in so well. It just gives him another gun on top of the ones he already has. But it's that little glint of hope that I love to see from IMT AOE, because we did say, right, last remaining bastion for Amateur, really a team that has set a bar, it feels like, for development and the way that a team should be able to function in these kinds of situations. And you get to see a little bit of that, obviously overshadowed by the CLG Academy win right here, or at least the win they're trying to put together. As Onslaught of Shadows comes through, Meech finds Dokla as the Malefic Visions hit, but there's the hostile takeover! Max Rage and Dokla with the outplays! You can't kill him if you're already dead, and everybody falls! CLG Academy take a clean sweep, an ace, and the base!
And even what looks to be a good play for Immortals AOE, it's just turned on by the hostile takeover.
That was Max Rage.
It canceled the Malzalt. It enabled Dokla to turn that fight around in CLG. That's a complete wipe, and honestly, it's looking like Game 1 as our #1 Academy team. I know dropping in the lower bracket was a bummer. They felt like, you know, they are a better team than this, but they have to prove it, and man, are they doing it against Immortals AOE in this one.
They take what they can get. They take everything they can, and that turnaround, the gore drinker on top of it all, it just spells doom.
Honestly, tragic, because it was like an okay look for Immortals AOE. I mean, you had Meech playing front to back, playing with that Malzahar ultimate. The real game plan for this team comp is you move forward, trying to utilize that lead that Meech has, but everything just turns on its head as Breezy makes them turn on each other. And now, another dragon spawning. You got to believe that Immortals AOE, they got to flip this. I mean, they're down 11k gold. Their only chance of coming back is probably picking up these next 2 dragons and at least trying to buy time until then. I don't think there's any way that CLG make that possible. We'll have to see. As Immortals AOE, they are grouped up. See who they decide to go
You know
on.
what the
as
group
Rosethorn.
up brings, though? Hostile takeovers. Onslaught of Shadow
Okay.
comes away from Rosethorn, though, so there's a big initiation tool they wouldn't have. But look, CLG want this. They get Malefic Vision onto Rosethorn, but here comes the background. Dokla is onto everybody. The hostile takeover is complete. And CLG Academy are wiping the floor with IMT AOE.
Oh my
That is game number 1. There is no hope in this one, and that's got to be the final touches for this first game in a huge swing.
Oh my God, Breezy! I feel like he's gonna take over the stream if he throws out another Renata ult. As hey, they've been hitting 4 or 5 members in the choke. He's been so good. His first time playing this champ on the stage, looking like he's put in the work as well as CLG now putting the work into the inhibitor turrets of IMT AOE. 2 are gonna fall. Dokla's looking at a 3rd. And God, this game, the ability for CLG to explode this game, turn this on its head, and really just dominate the fights throughout. This is the explosiveness that our #1 Academy team has had throughout the regular season. Good to see them taking it to IMT AOE in the lower bracket.
They don't get the final inhib, but they do get 2 of them down, meaning so much pressure just pushed onto IMT AOE. Now will be the second dragon of the game for CLG Academy. Their resets will come through, and we'll see what they come back onto the map with all of that gold. 14, 15,000 gold in the lead now. We'll look at the replay.
Another replay. We're just going to watch Breezy take over the stream here as another look at a killing Renata ult as all 5. Yep. Good night. No chance with that one. Immortals AOE just shred themselves thanks to Breezy's ultimate.
New definition of 1v9.
Oh, what a play out of the support of CLG. And I know Breezy, this guy, you know, he played Academy, had a brief stint with 100 Thieves in 2020, went back down to Amateur, played really well with Wixie on C9 Amateur, earned his way back into the Amateur circuit. And man, watching him play this year, I know that it's really easy in Academy to talk about Awa, talk about Chime, talk about Busio. But what more does Breezy have to do for us to start talking about him? It really feels like he's pushing us to say more good things about Breezy. As man, his Renata this game has been fantastic. Mazel, we'll see if he can help with the finishing touches on this one with the rest of CLG.
I mean, it's got to be an insta-ban turnaround for IMT AOE at this point. This has been catastrophic for the team. Every single hostile takeover getting so much value, and it just leads the rest. Like Douglas flank there at the end, he's just hitting so many people with every single ability. It's crazy, and that's because the way that IMT AOE want to approach fight is grouped up. They need to single targets out with the Malefic Visions and set up from there, and it just is a beautiful draft from CLG Academy. They know exactly what they were going into. See the onslaught of shadows to the back. Dokla is still alive because of the bailout. And look at Triple and Prismal on the side. Meech, you might have a little bit. The Chakram's doing so much, but it's not going to be enough. He gets him. The shutdown goes to Meech, but Meech falls. And so does the base for IMT AOE. 4 members strong from CLG Academy will end this game. Game number 1, going over to the Academy squad, and IMT AOE 1 step away from out of the proving grounds.
And CLG, what a bounce back from them. I know that dropping to Immortals in the upper bracket, like I said, it was the best series that we've had so far on Academy. It was still a bummer. It was a tough series.
It was.
What they said going back in, Prismal, they had to go back to the drawing board, take a deep breath, make sure they're trusting each other and that they don't beat themselves. This team, they believe that they are the top squad. The number 1 seed's one thing, but they believe in themselves. They are the best squad. They have to go through the lower bracket to do that, and what a statement game in the lower bracket. I feel like this week, we've had a lot of dominant wins. I feel like that one might be the most one-sided game that we have had from our number 1 seed as CLG, man. They are here to play, and Immortals AOE, despite what was a decent game plan from them early, we're used to seeing them attack bot lane, get Meech ahead. He was sitting at 2-0. He did take that full tower with all plates. There was no possibility he had to play in that game. It felt like everything just fell apart so fast because CLG blew the game up.
Like, we talk about the fireworks. I've at a loss for words here. Breezy on the Renata. I don't want to see that again. Like, I'm used to 5v5s, not whatever 9 people, 10 people on the same team are. Like, I don't know anymore. And it has to be an adaptation for IMT AOE in the draft because it just felt like CLG Academy came away with everything they could have asked for in that situation.
Yeah, one more thing. I know that, it was easy to hype up Breezy, so many
It
big
was.
ultimates, but also Triple. I mean,
Yep.
a lot of the ways the CLG plays, you have to fight this team early, because if you do not, they will blitz you. And, he blinded at LeBlanc. Malzahar is a champion that beats LeBlanc as the game goes on, but the way that he played it
Yeah.
with Rose Thorn, Breezy helping out, there was never an opportunity for Immortals AOE to utilize that Malzahar to, get the shove in the lane, go bot, get Meech further ahead. And the only tries they had to attempt it, Triple was getting ahead out of those plays.
He
So
was.
another shout out to him. CLG, what a dominant game coming out of them. And we'll see how Immortals AOE are able to go back to the drawing board and try and bounce back in
Hey,
game 2.
it is a boxing match. Everything on the line here for Proving Grounds. Got to see what the punchback is from INT AOE. We will see on the other side of a little break. But before we get back to the game, we'll have our mad magical lad back in the lab.